Okay, so thank you so much for your patience. We know we kept you waiting a bit today, but it was for a good reason. I have some news for you, but you'll hear about it later. Um, our first presenter is the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Ernest Tile. He's also the Minister for Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information. He has a few remarks, and of course, after his remarks, you are welcome to ask your questions.
Thank you very much. Well, now that the media has dissolved itself as well, let me.
Don't take for the show, for the video. I mean,
Closer to making it full, yeah.
Can you shoot it in a way that
It control. Yeah. I record it like leading lines, like should run down.
Yeah, so if it's like that, you control better.
Okay.
With the first line, then we scatter.
Alright, let's go this for the optics.
Make the optimum very good.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's the day after, day one of the 21 days. Of course, I'm sure everyone knows the Prime Minister indicated that he has written to the Governor General and that elections will be held on December the 1st and nominations on November the 21st, I think it is. Yeah, so it really sets us off 21 days of the election thing. I wanted to respond to comments, a couple of comments made, one by Tommy Descat, of course, who is the candidate going up in Castro South, and Alan Chasney, the leader of the opposition. You'd have heard Tommy Descat boasting that gangster is yellow and saying to the young people that, gangster is now yellow. And I thought it was a very unfortunate comment to make. And of course, his leader went on to say that they thought gangs have stood a very good purpose in this country and that they want to give young people, a second chance. And I wanted to give Tommy Descat a little education because, he is, of course, going around the constituency for the first time. I mean, he's now getting to know the constituency. He grew up in Sisera, but I don't know that he ever associated with the blocks in Sisera. He's now associating with the blocks. And he's been welcomed by the guys on the blocks. They cook food, they share food with him. He's videotaping his every encounter. He's a novice, so I guess that's quite understandable. But he's now interpreting his presence on the block to mean that he, as yellow, they're controlling the gangsters, and gangster is yellow now. And I wanted to say to him that not all young people on blocks are gangsters, and blocks are not gangsters, are not place of gangsters. I mean, to interpret the young men that he meet on the block as gangsters, and because they've welcomed him and they've been very warm and receptive to him, then gangster is now yellow, is very, very misconceived. There are a lot of young men on the blocks, the majority of them, who are not involved in any actions that are contrary to the law. A lot of young men on the blocks have children, they have dreams for their children, they have aspirations for their children. They want their children to become lawyers and doctors and engineers too. They want their children, and just like they have for themselves, they have high hopes and big dreams. And to associate blocks with gangster, and to say that, gangster is now yellow. I want to caution him that there are too many young men I know from the blocks who have big dreams. And, it was really unfortunate when I heard it. And he should not misinterpret the welcome that he's getting these days to mean that, he's in charge of the blocks and that the blocks are gangsters and they're now yellow. And I think it is really, really unfortunate. I want to tell him so. And also the comments made by his leader in terms of the gangs. We encourage young people to join youth groups, to join sports groups, to join uniform groups. And being part of a gang and engaging in gang activity in Central is illegal. It's against the law. So I'm not even sure what he means by gangster is yellow. Being part of any gang activity is illegal in this country. And I'm not even sure what his leader meant when he said that, the gangs have stood a useful purpose and even comments about not allowing murders to be wasted It's really, really unfortunate. And I want to say to many of the young men that I know on the blocks that Tommy visits, that we don't see them as gangsters, and we don't see them as a problem in society, and we don't treat them in that way. And I want to encourage them as much as possible to want the best for themselves and for their children, and the children that they try so hard to provide for. But of course, last night, moving on, we presented our achievements, our book of achievements, and it's an impressive document, and it's available both soft copy and in hard copy. And I urge all St. Lucians to have a read of it. We made promises, and we delivered on our promises. And the simple truth is that we have delivered for the people of St. Lucia. And as we get ready now for us to launch our manifesto, which is the next set of commitments that we are making to the people of St. Lucia, it will be important to start off by first reviewing what we told you in our last manifesto that we would have done, and to see the extent to which we fulfill the promises. I need to come back again to Tommy Descartes, because he had a posting last night that I've been elected since 2016. And for 9 years, I've done nothing for Castries South, and Castries South is in such a deplorable state, whatnot. And all I've done is patch a few roads. When you consider between 2016 and 2021, when I was elected, we were in opposition. The government to which he was the chief economic advisor, he was the chief economist, made sure that none of the 6 Labour Party parliamentarians got any assistance. Honorable Bradley Felix and Alan Shastek can boast today that they got monies every quarter under the CDP. They cannot account for how they spent it, but they got monies every quarter. We spent 5 years and never got a cent. Never got a cent. The Bassel Joseph Community Center was not completed under the United Workers' Party government that he's now party that he's now part of. He was the chief economist. The Cicero playing field, for which a contract was given before the 2016 election, was never done. He was the chief economist. And I can go around the constituency and show all the things for 5 years as an opposition representative. I had to suffer. And I want persons, and certainly my constituents, to reflect on what has happened in the last 4.5 years. Look at the constituency and see what has happened in the last 4.5 years. And people have to ask some questions. I heard the leader of the opposition says that Carnival cannot be allowed to be only 2 weeks in July. It needs to be the entire month of July. Tommy Descartes should have said to him that one of the first Carnival activities of the season is always the Cicero pageant. That is the first weekend in June. And Cicero Carnival is the first community carnival. It's the first Sunday, it is the first 2 weekends of June. We're not talking about July, we're talking about June. Carnival in St. Lucia starts the weekend after jazz ends. But who's advising him? He needs to speak and advise his leader. The jazz festival, can the United Workers' Party, and certainly Tommy Descartes, tell St. Lucians, will they stop the Jazz and Arts Festival if elected? Will they stop it? They spoke about Carnival. They spoke about Dennery Segment. And of course, Dennery Segment, they claim they will have a dedicated Dennery Segment event. There was one last year, planned for last year, it was rained out at Fordon, and there was one this year. And if all goes well, as we expect it to, there'll be another one next year. So please tell me, who are advising those guys? Please, somebody tell me. So I think as we get ready for the election campaign, it's going to be an exciting one. There'll be a lot to talk about, because we really need to hold them accountable as to what their position is on matters such as jazz, on matters such as the creative industries. Only today, we have our delegation returning from Nigeria, where they attended the Lagos Fashion Week. And from all reports, it was a tremendous experience for our creatives in Nigeria, and we're looking forward to furthering the cooperation. And of course, you would have heard by now that the Central Tourism Authority announced in London at the Jazz Preview at least 2 artists for the 2026 Jazz and Arts Festival. Thames, of course, we know is universally acclaimed Nigerian Afrobeats artist, and Beverly Knight, a soul queen from United Kingdom. So, it's one of the consequences of the election campaign that we cannot have the formal launch of the Jazz and Arts Festival, but every effort is being made to finalize the lineup, and it will be, like I said previously when we spoke on this matter, probably the most exciting lineup that we've had. I'll end at this point and take any questions that anybody has.
One question. The Creative Economy Grant Fund. I remember government launched this fund with $300,000, and the response has been overwhelming. So can you tell us where we are with this fund?
Yeah.
What stage in the process?
Yeah, the closing date for the receipt of applications or for requests was the end of October. So I know the team at the ministry has been categorizing and reviewing all the requests. I think we have over 800 requests or something like that. Surely the money will not have enough. And I've already signaled to PM that the monies allocated will just not make it. So that has been done now, and there's a committee that's going through all the requests, categorizing them and reviewing them. And very shortly, we will be making announcements on the grants.
Can you remind us what this grant is supposed to do and who's supposed to benefit?
Well, it's really to stimulate creative endeavors, and it is for persons who have any creative idea that they believe they need support for, whether it is the hosting of an exhibition, whether it's putting on a play, publishing a book, whether it is coming up with some documentary, a series of different options that we presented. We didn't want to restrict it to, say, a very narrow. We tried to keep it as broad as possible, which is probably the problem we created. But now there's so many submissions that were made from a range of possible creative activities. But the group is going through it and reviewing it. And when I last asked them, they had about 10 categories they were able to place the different requests in. But yeah, very shortly they should be making announcements.
Okay, let's go to the CIP. So you have escaped a few attacks on the program. Throughout these challenges, international media have played an interesting role, referring specifically to the MSR media and even the BBC, which wrote an article on the Caribbean CIP-CBI program. In your capacity as investment minister and Minister for Info and Broadcasting, how would you describe the participation of international media in these matters? And do you think there is a lesson here as to how much more trusting St. Lucian seem to be of international media rhetoric surrounding national issues than the perspectives of local media?
I think the CIP, although it is a St. Lucian program, it has implications for many of our international partners, because in a sense we are granting citizenship. And persons who now have citizenship are traveling to those countries. The United Kingdom and the European Union, there are no visa requirements, although the UK has introduced this program where you have to apply first, and then you can proceed to buy your ticket once you're granted permission, but it's not a classic visa regime as such. So, in a sense, they've opened their borders to us. And if we are granting citizenship through investment, which broadens the pool of people that can qualify for citizenship for your country, they rightfully would be concerned about the measures we have in place and the controls that we have in place for it not to have any untold consequences for them. And of course, once they express those interests, their media will pick it up, because their media are also concerned about what's happening in their domestic space. So I'm not surprised that international media would carry matters relating to our CIPs. And when you have an opposition that is deliberately not conscious of the national interests, and they themselves are making detrimental statements, you would expect those countries to want to pay heed to what is being said and to just interact with us to ensure that we put the appropriate measures in place.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
So, in regards to the Prime Minister actually calling elections yesterday, there was a statement that was made last night by the leader of the opposition in regarding to the CIP.
What did he say?
One statement was saying that with St. Lucia selling over 80,000 passports. 80,000 passports. Okay. And making about, if I'm correct, $240,000 or $240,000. It's $40,000, not for one, but for like a collection of them. And I think he was saying that after that, with the CIP, with St. Lucia making that much money with the CIP, why is the health and security levy still in place? So I just wanted to know your opinion on this.
Well, I mean, for a man who says gangs are good for the country, I don't even think he should speak about anything and be taken seriously, to be honest with you. I mean, at this point, I really don't even take him that seriously. I mean, serious. I mean, where you get 80,000 passports, and we don't sell passports in the first place. And I think in the House I had explained that the challenges we face in the CIP started with him and the actions that he took. He did that. He virtually started a lot of the problems that end up, we had to clean up. And then he went about with Martinez trying to destroy St. Lucia. So I'm really, and I can tell you, you see that comment about gangs, I mean, really said it all to me, that Alan Shastry can never have St. Lucia at the forefront of his mind, and I can never believe, never believe that he really cares about St. Lucia. So, yeah.
Deputy, last night the St. Lucia Labour Party launched a book of achievements to sensitize St. Lucians on the progress of their government. What is your take on your tenure, and not just your tenure, but this government's tenure in government, in light of what you were able to achieve?
I think tomorrow night, for example, I'm delivering a statement to the nation tomorrow as it relates to investments. And I can tell you, I started, the speech just went longer and longer, and you realize just how much we've done in terms of investments in this country. It's a phenomenal achievement that we've had from where we took it in July 2021. And the Prime Minister's address to the nation last night in announcing the date really took us from where he got it in July 2021, the high debt to GDP ratio, the high level of government payables, the fact that the government essentially had less than $30 million in the bank, and where we are now with our debt to GDP ratio, the government payables are, $20-something million now from about $160 million in 2021. We've had years of consecutive economic growth. Last year, the IMF said we had 4.7% growth in the country. Construction, tourism, investment, a number of areas. The tourism industry is driving economic activity, construction as well. And you really have to wonder, when you analyze where we were to where we are now. And sometimes you hear the opposition say that the country is in a crisis, economic crisis. Which country has years of consecutive economic growth and speak about it's in an economic crisis? But remember, there was a decline even before COVID came. We were already declining before COVID. COVID just accelerated what had started. And, for one to come and boast now and say that I can do better, what better can you really do? You're hearing statements from the opposition. The same persons that wanted to close down Sir Arthur Lewis Community College say we're spending too much money on Sir Arthur Community College. Now speaks of wanting to give, free education at Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. I think as you go through the booklet, you will see a phenomenal achievement. In agriculture, no government has given farmers more than this government. The farmers will tell you they've not paid for fertilizer for the last 3 to 4 years. Their inputs are virtually given to them, given to them to ensure that we can, achieve food security and meet our needs in this country. Look at fishers, the amount of support we've given to fishers. Talk about education. One of the first things this government did when we came into power was to pay the school fees. And people ask, but why do you want to pay school fees? Let people pay their own school fees. But we had realized there were so many students who were leaving school. They couldn't even get their result slips and whatnot and get their graduation certificates and whatnot because the parents owed the school fees. The schools allowed them to continue their education, but the parents could not afford to pay the school fees. Paying CXC subjects for students. I mean, as a parliamentary rep, and I don't know how the opposition doesn't feel that. Students, I would speak to young people and they would say, look, they didn't do any subjects. I said, how do you spend 5 years at secondary school and do no subjects? My mother didn't want to pay the subjects on me. So you spend 5 years at secondary school and your mother said, I could only pay for half of the subjects. I cannot pay for all your subjects. Can you imagine spend 5 years at secondary school and your mother can only pay for 3 subjects and not 5 or 6? The government decided, look, we're going to pay for 2, Maths and English. And now we're paying for 4 because we want our children to go to achieve. Look at the first generation scholarship, giving young people, giving families that have never had a university graduate a chance to get a graduate. I mean, all of that under this government. Return of the laptop program. I mean, this electronic book that they had introduced was a fiasco, complete fiasco. And to the point where, and it's not a bad idea for you to have the text on the device, so you don't have to go and buy the text. But the texts that they were planning to put on a device were texts written by persons from outside the region that were not even meeting the curriculum for the region. So the students would be getting texts that was not even entirely relevant to the exams they would have to do regionally. Come on, let's get serious. And that's education. Don't ask for sports. Let me tell you, for me, one of the great achievements of this government is having the semi-pro leagues in both cricket and football. As somebody who's been involved in sports management, I know the possibilities of getting our young people to turn professional in sports and giving them that preparatory phase that they can go through is phenomenal. And paying them to play, it's a semi-pro league. And you can look at right across it, health, what we've been able to achieve in health. And again, this masquerade of saying we're going to give everybody a card with $70,000 coverage on it is really foolish, really, really foolish. And I can just go down the line and outline to you so much that we've achieved in the last 4 years. And, we're very proud of that achievement, and we're going to continue to bring the message out to the people of St. Lucia to highlight what we achieved in the last 4.5 years.
Question, we're speaking of achievements. You as Minister of Tourism, what would be for you your number one as Minister of Tourism achievement? You feel like this would be?
I think the number one for me would be the enactment of the Tourism Development Act. Because for you to really have the transformation that you want, and we're not talking about just quantitative transformation, qualitative transformation, you need to have the framework, the enabling environment for it to happen. Because you may want to change things, make it better. But if you don't have the enabling environment, it just won't happen. The enabling environment is helped by the legislation and policy measures you have in place. We now have laws in St. Lucia that actually incentivize locals to be more active in the tourism industry. And we've structured the incentives in a way that builds in sustainability. So for the future, we are safeguarding the future through what we offer now. Gone are the days when a developer can just get 100% for everything. Now it's structured differently. So I think between the community tourism of agency bill and of community tourism bill and the Tourism Development Act, we have 2 pieces of legislation that is transforming the tourism industry. And I'm really, really proud of that. And you can see it in the growth. The community tourism is a success story in many ways, a real success story. And it is going to transform our tourism industry. And we recently just finalized agreements with a developer for a new hotel in St. Lucia. One of the things I had asked for is that they must have staff quarters. they must have staff quarters. And if agreed, they will put in staff quarters. I cannot remember how many rooms, whether it's 15 rooms or whatever. That is for staff. The idea of staff, waiting by a bus stop until 2 in the morning to get a bus to get to their home. We have to try and offer alternatives where if you work late at the hotel, because you need to make the extra money to feed your family, whatnot, you don't have to go and hustle to get home. You can sleep and continue work next day or whatever it is. So we need to start speaking more and more to that sector and say, look, you must be more accommodating of the staff and the workers. And then I have to speak about the minimum wage. For me, the hospitality sector makes the most money in this country. And the workers must earn a greater share of it. They must. The minimum wage took us a certain point. But there are a lot of persons in the hospitality sector that were earning below the minimum wage. Below. But now they've been moved up. And we have to continue to lobby for them to get more of the pie, because the pie is getting bigger, but we want them to share a greater piece of the pie as well. So those things really make me feel good when we can achieve those practices that will make life where everybody can share in the prosperity. Doesn't make sense you have prosperity and there's a few that shares the benefits of the prosperity. We must make sure the prosperity everyone shares. So the investors make money, the workers make money, and every stakeholder involved can make some money too. But if we allow it to be structured in a way where most of the benefit, almost all of it, goes to one category, we are failing.
Would you say that in the area of equity, social assistance, social protection, that this government has increased support at all?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have. I can tell you as a parliamentary rep, I can boast of the support that we've been able to give disadvantaged and dispossessed people. The Prime Minister made it very clear to us that a percentage of all our CDP, our community constituency development program, must go to social development. So, I can now say to people who come to me that want to have a medical operation, this is how I can assist you. There are families in St. Lucia who cannot bury their loved ones. Cannot. And we can assist them. We can't take the full cost, but we can assist them. So government gives them some help, because government would offer help as well, but we can also help them. So you find yourself being in a position now where you can help the elderly, and they have so much assistance. Look at the home care program, which is a fantastic, program that has been expanded, started by Dr. Kenny Anthony, and now we're moving into weekend care as well. And some people ask, but why are you all doing this? The reality is that the caregivers are saying they leave the elderly on the Friday. When they come back on the Monday, they're exactly the same way. Nobody has given them the medication. Nobody has cleaned them. Some of them have not even eaten for the weekend because family members are out there on their own business, some overseas, some working different hours, whatnot. So we have to ask, do we just leave the elderly like this? As much as we want kinship to continue and family members to take care of their family members, and the law also requires that, the fact is they are suffering. And you will see in the next Labour Party government the commencement of, and I'm not trying to say what's going to be in the manifesto, but building of adult care centers. Now, what's an adult care center? We're not even talking necessarily about residential centers. Just think about it. And I've argued very hard for this, and as well as Minister Hippolyte. You have persons who are just at their home not doing anything. We believe we must create the space where those persons can go to a center and meet with persons of their age group, play games, give stories, get children from the primary schools to come and visit them, interact with them. It has been shown that helps longevity, that you are interacting, the social interaction, peer gatherings, help the elderly. So rather than have those people just at home and on the bed or just sitting on a couch, let's create a facility. Use community centers also as spaces where the elderly can go and spend part of their day, interacting with each other. And that will help the quality of life of the elderly. And I think you will see a lot more of that happening. So we have a tremendous track record when it comes to equity and social justice. And again, we're very proud of it.